The moment this story surfaced, it sent shockwaves through royal watchers, media insiders, and even Hollywood circles, because the question at the center of it all is almost unbelievable. What if one of the most famous women in the world has been hiding something as basic and explosive as her real age for decades? And according to one of Britain's most relentless investigative biographers, the clues have been hiding in plain sight for years, buried in archives, records, and forgotten interviews that suddenly don't add up anymore.
Tom Bower, the legendary royal author, is sharpening his quill for a new edition of his book set to reveal huge secrets inside Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage.
There's nothing original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Which is really such a fake. When she was younger.
Hi, Nanny. I got an English award.
100% a bully brat.
I think when I was 30, if I thought about 50, I thought that is an awful long way away. And I don't really need to think about it. And then I blinked and I'm 50. That's crazy.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
I thought, what is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy.
She's absolutely ruthless.
This is Meghan's first trip to the snow. Your dad took her up to Big Bear.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future of
Meghan is living a life that she's winning and she's doing all these great things, but the reality is not that. The reality is she's a joke.
But what they need to do is face up to the blackmail that's coming from California and in some way or other undermine Harry's and Meghan's credibility.
That was her goal. Hashtag goal, to marry Prince Harry.
She's stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, how can you get your age so wrong? Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working for Humphrey Yogurt, age 13, she also, or somebody with the name Meghan Markle, filled out a questionnaire for Sears, the company, claiming that she was 21 years of age.
The royal biographer, known for his ruthless investigations, has publicly questioned whether the Duchess of Sussex has been lying about her age for over 2 decades. That accusation didn't come from a gossip blogger or a random social media rumor. It came from Tom Bower, a man whose reputation in Britain is built on dismantling powerful figures piece by piece through documents, interviews, and painstaking investigation. Bower has spent years exposing billionaires, politicians, and media tycoons, and when he turned his attention to Meghan Markle, he didn't come with speculation. He came with a trail of evidence that he claims tells a completely different story about who she really is.
I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want.
And the evidence he's compiled, it's devastating. We're talking magazine archives, university records, family testimonies, and a pattern of deception so elaborate it makes Hollywood look amateur. Suddenly, what once sounded like a French conspiracy started to look like something much more complicated, because Bower's investigation didn't rely on rumors alone. It relied on timelines that simply refused to line up with the version of Meghan's life that the public has been told for years.
Is Megsy really lying about her age? Now, when you Google her, it says that she was born on the 4th of August 1981, and with today being her birthday as of me recording this video, it's saying that she's 44 years old.
Here's what makes this different from every other Meghan scandal. This time, there are documents, official documents that don't lie. And Meghan, she's reportedly absolutely furious. And furious might be an understatement, because if even part of this claim is true, it would mean that one of the most carefully crafted public identities in modern royal history might be built on a foundation that is far shakier than anyone realized.
Yeah, she had a very clear idea of where she wanted her path have to take it.
Before we dive into the age controversy, you need to understand who Tom Bower is. This isn't some tabloid journalist looking for clicks. Tom Bower is one of Britain's most respected investigative biographers. He's written exposés on Robert Maxwell, Muhammad Al-Fayed, Simon Cowell, and Prince Charles. That reputation is exactly why his allegations hit so hard. Bower is not known for throwing accusations into the wind. His investigations usually take years, involving hundreds of interviews and an obsession with verifying every claim before putting it into print. His books are meticulously researched. He spends years interviewing hundreds of sources. He fact-checks everything. And in 2022, he published Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors. The book was brutal. It painted Meghan as calculating, manipulative, and willing to do whatever it took to climb the social ladder. Meghan is a consummate survival actress. You raised this extraordinary beginning of the year when she carved 2025 in the sand. And you know, it's a very, very interesting image that it came out on New Year's Day this year, because the previous weeks had been absolutely turgid and torrid for her. She had been dubbed Duchess difficult again. There have been allegations of bullying, tyrant in high heels. But one chapter caught particular attention, the chapter about Meghan's early life, her Hollywood years, her timeline. And not a surprise here, because yeah, she lies a lot about her stuff. We've caught her in so many lies. Her own sister has come forward, her family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling. And this is where the mystery begins to deepen. Because according to the official biography repeated for years, Meghan Markle was born on August 4th, 1981. That would make her in her early 40s today, a perfectly normal age for someone who rose to fame in Hollywood and later married into the royal family. But according to Bower's research, that timeline might not be accurate at all. Because according to Bower's research, the math doesn't add up. Meghan claims she was born August 4th, 1981. That would make her 44 years old today. August 4th, 40 years ago. Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section. So she was put in my arm. But the evidence Bower uncovered suggests something very different, something that could place Meghan's birth year several years earlier. According to his investigation, she could actually be anywhere between 48 and 52 years old. That is not a minor discrepancy. That is a completely different life timeline. And the moment Bower began publicly discussing that possibility, the reaction from Meghan's camp was reportedly immediate panic. And that's the thing about Meghan. She's a very, very deceitful person. So what exactly triggered these suspicions? It all starts with a single magazine article that refuses to disappear. In March 1997, the magazine 17 ran a feature that listed Meghan Markle as being 21 years old at the time. But if Meghan was truly born in 1981, she would have been just 15 or 16 in March of 1997. That is not a small mistake. That is a 6-year difference. And once that article resurfaced, investigators began asking a simple but devastating question: how does a national publication get someone's age wrong by 6 years? What the hell is going on with this woman? Is she adopted, or is she just a natural? I mean, is she such a liar she can't even understand that we can all see her? Bower didn't just rely on the article itself. He went further. He tracked down physical archives, he verified publication dates, he confirmed the authenticity of the piece. And it is real, which leaves only two possible explanations. Either the magazine made an extraordinary error about a relatively unknown teenager, or Meghan Markle's age had already been quietly adjusted years before the public ever knew who she was. But the mystery only deepens when another detail surfaces, one buried inside the digital history of her acting career. Because according to Bower's findings, Meghan's IMDb page once listed her birth year as 1977 instead of 1981. And that raises an uncomfortable question: why would her professional acting profile list a different birth year than the one she publicly claims today? Hollywood has an answer for that. Age determines opportunity. In an industry obsessed with youth, being a few years younger can mean the difference between landing auditions and being quietly pushed aside. So if someone were trying to stay competitive in Hollywood, adjusting their age would not be unheard of. But if that adjustment followed them into royal life, into official biographies, royal records, and legal documents, the implications suddenly become far more serious. And according to Bower, the deeper he dug into Meghan's early life, the stranger the timeline became. Because when he began looking into her university years, the math started collapsing all over again. Northwestern University records show that Meghan graduated in 2003 with a degree in theater and international studies. At age 22, that timeline works perfectly, except Bauer didn't stop at the official records. He tracked down classmates, alumni directories, and even group photographs from Meghan's university days. And what he discovered raised another troubling possibility. Many of the people who studied alongside her, the people appearing in those same class photos, are now in their early to mid-50s, not their early 40s, their 50s, which raises a strange possibility. Was Meghan simply a much younger student surrounded entirely by older classmates, or was she actually closer to their age all along? One former classmate reportedly told Bauer something that would later become one of the most controversial quotes in his investigation. "We all knew Meghan was older than she claimed." And if that statement is true, then the question becomes even more explosive. Because if someone was adjusting their age in college, in Hollywood, and across public records, then the real mystery isn't just about numbers, it's about identity. And according to Bauer's investigation, the deeper you look into Meghan Markle's past, the more those numbers start to unravel. But the deeper Tom Bauer went into Meghan Markle's past, the more the mystery started to grow darker, stranger, and frankly more unsettling. Because the contradictions weren't just appearing in magazines or internet databases anymore, they were starting to appear inside her own family's story. One of the most curious moments came when Bauer began investigating Meghan's father, Thomas Markle. For years, Thomas had spoken openly about his daughter in interviews, sometimes proudly, sometimes bitterly, describing her childhood, her ambitions, her rise to fame, and the complicated relationship that ultimately fractured their family. But when Bauer asked him a very simple question, a question that any father should be able to answer without hesitation, something unexpected happened. Thomas Markle didn't immediately confirm the birth year the world believes to be true. Instead, according to Bauer, he paused and then said something that left investigators puzzled. He told them to check the records themselves. Not August 4th, 1981. Not a clear confirmation, just check the records. And that moment alone set off alarm bells among people who were already questioning the official story. Because why would a father hesitate when asked about the year his daughter was born? Unless there was a reason. Unless the story everyone believed wasn't actually the whole story. Then Bauer turned his attention to another member of Meghan's family, her half-sister Samantha Markle. Samantha has been a controversial figure in the Meghan saga for years, frequently criticizing her sister in interviews and public statements. But when Bauer spoke to her about Meghan's childhood, something she said raised yet another timeline question. Samantha was born in 1964. According to Meghan's official biography, the two sisters are separated by 17 years. But Samantha told Bauer that the age gap never felt that large when they were growing up. She described Meghan as a younger sister who was still close enough in age to interact with, to play with, to share childhood experiences. And if Meghan truly was born in 1981, Samantha would have been nearly an adult when she arrived. But if Meghan had actually been born earlier, say in the mid-1970s, that gap suddenly shrinks dramatically, and the family memories suddenly start to make a lot more sense. That's the kind of detail investigators look for. Small inconsistencies that slowly start forming a pattern. Because once Bauer started analyzing Meghan's early career, the timeline problems appeared again. Hollywood casting works on brutal math. But if Bauer's suspected timeline is closer to the truth, if she was actually born several years earlier, then she would have already been pushing 30. And in Hollywood, that difference matters enormously because the industry quietly begins pushing actresses into different roles once they cross that invisible line. Then came 2011, the year Meghan finally landed the role that changed everything. Rachel Zane on the legal drama Suits. If she were truly born in 1981, she would have been around 30 years old when she got the role. Already a little older than typical casting for that character, but still believable. But if she were actually 35 or 36, suddenly the timeline becomes much harder to explain. And Bauer argues that Meghan's entire career trajectory looks less like a rising young actress and more like someone desperately trying to stay inside Hollywood's youth-obsessed system. But the investigation didn't stop there, because another strange detail appeared in one of the most official documents connected to Meghan Markle's life, Archie's birth certificate. When Archie was born in May 2019, the certificate initially listed the mother's name exactly as expected, Rachel Meghan Markle, a normal legal entry. But weeks later, something unusual happened. The certificate was amended. Her first and middle names were removed. The document now listed her simply as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. According to sources Bauer spoke with, that kind of change change is extremely rare. Royal birth certificates almost never get altered after filing. So why was it done? Bauer believes the answer may be surprisingly strategic, because official documents create permanent paper trails. Paper trails that investigators, journalists, and legal experts can cross-reference with other records. School transcripts, passport applications, acting contracts, marriage documents, and if those records contain different birth years, the entire narrative could start to collapse. So according to Bauer's theory, removing Rachel Meghan Markle from that certificate made it harder for anyone to trace documents connected to that name, harder to compare records, harder to investigate, sometimes even decades. But eventually, the truth always finds a way to surface.